Tonight, disturbing new details about the motive behind the horrific murder of a 22-year-old college baseball player, Christopher Lane. Welcome to Hannity. I'm David Webb, in tonight for Sean. Late last week, prosecutors say these three teens hunted down, shot, and killed Christopher Lane for, quote, fun. And now a new report in the Daily Caller might explain part of their motivation. The article explains that one of the alleged killers, James Francis Edward Jr., posted racial statements on Twitter. And according to the Daily Caller, quote, Edward's social media activities are still on stark display and show the teen glorifying hip-hop, violence, and sex. Pictures on Facebook also show Edwards and Luna wearing gang colors, flashing gang signs. A couple of tweets also suggest that Edwards was not fond of white people. On April 29th, he tweeted, 90% of white people are nasty, hashtag hate them. And earlier today, a Fox News producer spoke with the Stevens County, Oklahoma district attorney. He said he will not focus on the shooting as being a hate crime, but would rather stick to the murder charges. Joining me with reaction are Fox News contributor, former Florida Congressman Allen West, and my friend, Fox News political analyst, Juan Williams. Colonel, you're also my friend, but gentlemen, good to see you here. This is disturbing, because what I see is first a moral decay when children, young men, are in this lifestyle and position where they don't value human life. And Juan, I'll first go to you. We've talked a lot about the rights of children and the future and generations in the past. What do you say to this?
Well, it's just a horrific crime, and what you see here is young people who apparently do the worst possible crime, murder, out of boredom. And, you know, the problem here is, you know, where is the structure? You talk about what's evident on his Facebook page, David, and what's evident to me, and I know some people say, oh, well, look, he made a racial comment. This is a kid. After the Trayvon Martin case, he apparently, you know, spewed this, but there's no pattern of racial invective coming from him. Instead, it's about the gang colors. It's about the hip-hop. It's about the culture, which is a pornographic culture that celebrates people who commit crimes. How many people you've shot? How many people I've shot? Have you been initiated in the gang lifestyle? Are you tough enough? Does this make you a man? These three kids, one white, one black, one biracial, it seems to me, are suffering from an American virus, which is a corrupt culture that led them to this horrific crime.
Colonel, to you, when it comes to the racial narrative, look, I don't want to draw this, by the way, into left, right, race or not race uniquely. This is so much broader, so much more complex. But Colonel, there's a bit of hypocrisy in how this is sold in the media oftentimes. If it was a reverse dynamic, and yes, Juan is right, in the makeup, the ethnic makeup, we would see a different action. The president weighing in on Trayvon Martin. What do you say to not only the country, but to parents who are raising children?
Well, first of all, there have been reports that came out that said basically these three young men were raising themselves. So I think we can sit around, we can talk about the symptom, but the greater disease is what we should be concerned about. When I look at the trends that are happening, these three young men in Oklahoma, the fact that we're having a trial in Marietta, Georgia, where a 17-year-old young black teenager shot a 13-month-old baby in the face, in Gulfport, Florida, where the three black teenagers beat up the one white teenager for turning them in because they were purportedly seeking to sell him drugs. And of course, we know what is happening in Chicago. We know what is happening in most of the inner cities. It is a gangster culture out there. It is a culture that's being permeated throughout the media and throughout the the entertainment industry that we need to start speaking out about. And furthermore, when you think about the fact that 72% of black babies are being born out of wedlock, this is the effects, the second and third order effects that we have seen in the inner city, in the black community, and in other communities where it's spilling over. So that is the real conversation that we need to start having, because I got to tell you, when I was 15, 16, and 17, my parents ensured that I was not bored. I was either, playing sports, my education, I had a part-time job. They kept me busy. And my mother always said, people will know you by the company that you keep.
You know, Juan, I often say you should go out in life, regardless of color, as a prospect, not a suspect. And what we see here in this Decay, the leaders, and I'm not talking about black leaders or white leaders, I'm talking about leaders in America, including parents, they need to get involved with this. Why aren't we hearing from those examples and those who say that they have our best interests at heart?
Well, let me just be blunt with you. Why aren't we hearing from civil rights leaders? I don't see the civil rights leaders out there leading marches and protests against violence, against the drug dealers, against the bad schools, saying to young women, hey, this is madness. That I guess now it's about 30% of the white babies born to single moms, 50% of the Hispanics, and as we just heard from Colonel West, 70+% of the black kids. Where's the leadership to speak to that issue? I mean, to me, there's a huge gap. Even when President Obama tries to speak to it, immediately there's a backlash. Why are you talking down to black people? You remember Jesse Jackson threatened to castrate him. I just think that is another sign that these people are all in bed, literally, and sometimes with the pornographers, a blind eye to the drug dealers, a blind eye to the people who tell you it's thug life or no life, that's what they want to exalt in America. I just think this is a tragedy, and they're always playing the victimization card. I don't agree when the pattern that Colonel West just drew. I mean, when I look at that situation down in Florida with the 3 black kids beating up the white kid by his own admission said, those guys were trying to sell me drugs, and I told on him, and the black kids called him, someone who was a squealer or whatever. I mean, this is what happens in a bad culture. I mean, when you see corruption, I think, to me, the big problem is something like what the Colonel was talking about in Chicago, New York, D.C., where people are shooting each other. Mostly it's black people shooting black people, white people shoot white people, but right now it's overwhelmingly people of color with guns killing each other, and yet that gets almost no attention.
All right, Colonel, so what do we do? I'm a solutions guy. What do we do? If I put Colonel Allen West and Juan Williams out there, 2 powerful voices, people will listen. What are the solutions in the hood? What are the things that need to be done? Because it's not a black problem or a white problem. It's a problem for all of America.
I think that we have to go into the hood. Look, I was brought up in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, the same neighborhood that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born and raised in. Now, we're going to have the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech next week. I wonder how many leaders are going to stand up and challenge and speak just as Juan just did and bring up some of the points that I did to say that we're not fulfilling that dream. As a matter of fact, we're going backwards. So I think that, hey, I would be happy to get with Juan to go into these inner city black communities, to go to our historic black colleges and universities, to start saying we've got to turn this thing around. Both of us, Juan and I,
you're a gentleman.
dads.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that so much, Colonel, because, when people like you, people who have a national standing, I think of Bill Cosby. I wrote a book about Bill Cosby doing this, and he immediately, Bill Cosby, imagine how famous and how much stature he has. They immediately tried to cut him down, put him down, said he was, airing dirty laundry, serving the interest of Rush Limbaugh. I was like, are you kidding me? But, Colonel, I'm telling you, that's what you're in for if you try to do this.
But don't we have to do this, gentlemen? We've got 30 seconds left. Don't we have to take these slings and arrows and go in there, Colonel?
Yeah, but see, Juan, the thing is, when you've been in combat and you served 22 years in the military, I've really been shot at. And so the words and the barbs, they don't bother me.
All right, gentlemen, thank you both, Colonel Allen West and Juan Williams.